Hey everybody, David Ellison here. Just announcing the new Altitudes and Attitudes roast, the new coffee from Ellison Coffee to celebrate me and Frank Bellows' group, Altitudes and Attitude. Cool, tasty, delicious coffee since we are both coffee fiends. Click in the link in the description there and you'll be able to find the pre-order for that. And also, just to let you know that Ellison Coffee Company is also a proud sponsor of The Metal Voice.
Welcome to the Metal Voice on the tour bus with legendary. I mean, you couldn't get a greater guitarist in the history of hard rock, prog rock. I don't know. Since I was a little kid, walk into the store, pick up Tokyo tapes, Earthquake, Uli Jon Roth solo. I mean, it's a pleasure to see you early. I've spoken to him on Skype before, but it's such a pleasure to see you in person.
It's my pleasure. Yeah.
First of all, I want to talk about Montreal yesterday. Montreal, Canada declared itself.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Montreal, Canada declared itself a city of metal excellence, which is something unbelievable in today's society.
I've never heard of any of such a concept. Metal excellence.
Excellence. In other words, we promote metal globally.
Building site or what? What's going on here? You promote heavy metal.
I don't know. Any thoughts to something like that? Is it positive? Is it negative?
First of all, I'm not an expert on heavy metal. I have to say, So.
All right,
congratulations.
All right, I want to do a little deep dive into. I mean, we talked about everything in general. You have your tour now, which is your three. What do you call the triple
anniversary? Yeah.
I know you've talked about this in probably every interview you've done, but just to promote the North American tour dates coming ahead.
Yeah, we're doing this tour. The theme is triple anniversary. It means like there are 3 anniversaries in one, and they're all 3 kind of meaningful to me. The first one was like 40 years. We recorded Tokyo tapes, and that was my last Scorpions album back then. And in the same year, Electric Sun got started, which was also an important milestone for me. And we recorded Earthquake in that same year. So that year had 2 albums. The most important anniversary for me personally is probably the 50th anniversary of my first ever on-stage performance in December 1968, and our tour reflects that. We're playing music from various stations in my life, my journey.
Yeah. So I just want to promote the North American tour dates. You're ripping through North America. I remember when you left the Scorpions, and we're not going to get into why, but I remember you left the Scorpions, and suddenly for the next 15 years, like, at least in North America, we really didn't hear about you. Was it a concentrated effort to stay?
That's not quite correct, because Electric Sun developed a strong cult following in America, to the point that when we came here in '85, we had packed houses everywhere, but sure, compared to the Scorpions,
yes.
You didn't hear much, but you see, in the States, Electric Sun was much more active in the fan base, so we never played Canada.
Yeah.
That's why we flew under the radar in Canada.
Yeah.
But anyways, so we're making good on that. Now we're playing quite a bit of that Electric Sun catalog.
It's quite the contrast. Like the last 10 years of your sort of touring cycles, in North America versus at least how I see it, especially in the last few years, you've been coming back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. I've become a touring artist, whereas before you were correct in saying that after the Electric Sun, I stopped touring altogether.
And that's what I meant.
There were 13 years where I was kind of in some ivory tower in Wales or in Sussex or wherever, or both, where I really didn't tour at all. And I had maybe a handful of concerts in all these years. That was it. And several of them were more classical based with orchestras, And then one day we got a phone call from Joe Satriani's management, and they asked me to play the G3 tour, and I said yes, and that got me back into touring. I started enjoying it because in the mid 80s I kind of had lost the flavor of it, so to speak. I didn't enjoy touring anymore, and now I'm enjoying it.
Jimmy K here, Metal Voice. Look at this. The Metal Voice shirts are now on sale. Just go to the video description to find out on how you can purchase one. Metal! I mean, you're here. And I want to just do a little bit
As you can see from my schedule.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Tokyo tapes, which was, as a kid, it was a monumental album for a lot of us. All right, Kojo no
Tsuki.
How long did it take for Klaus Manny to actually even learn this?
I wasn't there, but Klaus has spoken about it several times. The idea was, and I think it was probably his idea, to do maybe a Japanese folk song, and he asked our Japanese fan club, which was considered quite a large fan club, and I think one of the girls came up with that piece because it was a classic. It means the castle in the moonlight. Tsuki is moonlight, Kojo is the castle. And so he learned the lyrics, etc., and he did all that at home. He prepared. But then when it came towards Tokyo, from what I remember is he played he sang the melody to me on the stage in one of the sound checks, on the first sound check, and immediately it was obvious, what to do with that track. I kind of gave it the Scorpions treatment, and it worked. I think we played it that night, and it became a highlight.
I know you told me in the past that if you're ever you would be interested in recording with the Scorpions if they ever invited you, right?
Yeah, that has happened. There was we almost got together on the 2008 Humanity album, but then it didn't happen because the time just didn't permit it.
But I mean, what would you see the sound? I know you're a guy who likes to evolve. You don't want to do the same thing.
Well, I would not think about that now. If it happens, then it happens, and then the sound will come.
As it is,
I'm
right?
very, I don't plan these things long time. You just see what's on the table. If Rudolph comes up with a song, I will find something to complement it. And if I had to write a new song for the Scorpions, I would make it so that it becomes a Scorpions song.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, go back to Tokyo Tapes deep dive here. Now we have a couple of cover songs, right? I mean, we have Long Tall Sally and of course Hound Dog. I mean, was that your idea? It was just so fun?
No, they were just accidents.
They were just accidents?
I think to me that wasn't Scorpions, I mean, we came, of course, from a rock and Beatles background, but we did used to play Johnny Be Good occasionally, but that was because I was such a Hendrix fan, and we basically copied the Hendrix version. Why these two particular ones made it to the album, I'm still not sure, and I don't want to necessarily disown it, but somehow I think they maybe shouldn't have been there. We had more suitable ones.
Was that part of the regular set list in general?
I don't think we sometimes did this as an encore, but both of them I don't really remember. It was certainly nothing that stood out in the set. We sometimes would do something like that as an encore. Yeah.
And I've told you this before, I'm a big fan of Lonesome Crow, so In Search of Peace of Mind.
That's a beautiful piece.
It's
actually the first one that Michael Schenker wrote, and it's already a masterpiece right away.
Yeah.
Just a few notes, and it's beautiful lyrics. It's got beautiful lyrics by Klaus. So yeah, that's quite something. I love that song.
What was, as a group, what was your English capabilities at the time, being German?
The only one who could speak English was I, really, because I learned since I was 5. My dad taught me already, And Francis spoke a little, but he was never really so much in the limelight, you know. Klaus was very good with his Beatles background, and he started to become better with English, but I think it hadn't been a school subject for them, you know. So Michael Schenker and Rudolph, they had to learn it kind of the hard way, like literally on the road or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
It got better gradually.
You know, he's a woman, she's a man, robot man.
That was he's a woman, she's a man. That was written by Herman.
Yes.
Herman spoke English because he lived in England.
Yes.
You know, and that was that.
And I mean, other like the production itself. Was there any sort of finessing in the studio, or was it just?
No, that was in fact there wasn't enough of it, because I was quite upset when I first heard the recordings, because there was a mistake in the when they had the recording mobile, which back then you used to do in order to record something like this. And apparently the Japanese engineers had recorded all the presets with EQs, etc. And you don't do that. So afterwards, you didn't have the chance to really tweak the sounds as much, you know. And I was not happy with the sound of the album, because I remember the sound, what it sounded like on stage, and it sounded phenomenal, particularly in that hall, you know. It really sounded great. And what I heard on the album was like a shadow of that. So I was not happy. That's why I never listened to the album in my life.
Really?
I haven't ever listened to the whole album in one go.
Is there any sort of material that was left over that you didn't put
There
on?
were some, and I'm to blame for a couple of things that got left out, because I didn't think Catch Your Train was good enough, and I didn't think Hellcat was good enough. Then when I heard them recently, when they did the re-release, I thought, what was I thinking? They were good enough. We should have had them, you know. I was actually being a bit of an idiot, thinking maybe too critical or so, you know.
And I mean, overall as a success, I mean, do you find that at the time it was you know, it was like a slow movement, but compared to
that album grew, and it took me by surprise, because it wasn't the studio album, you know, and I had kind of really left it behind me. But at every show afterwards, people come with that album, you know. You sign it, and then you gradually think, what is it with this album, you know? And people always said, Tokyo Tapes, Tokyo Tapes, Tokyo Tapes, and so eventually I got it. You know, it was definitely a high point for what we did back then, because we were at the top of our game when we recorded that, and it was inspired, you know. And maybe I shouldn't have been so nitpickingly or critical of the mix, but that's just my own personal issue. But now I'm really glad that we did the album, and it's one of the things that we can be somewhat proud of, I guess.
Is there any video of this show?
Unfortunately not. Back then we never used to video our shows. It was in the in-between days of video. There was one TV show in Switzerland which was 3 months before, and which was great. It got lost in the floods. Nobody has it. That would have been the nearest representation. And then the only footage that exists from the Scorpions in those days were like TV appearances here and there, most of them playback, where we just played certain songs, you know, including Cesar Sharon and various of these songs. But I loved taking Super 8 footage. So from day one with the Scorpions till my final day in '78, I've chronologically got all the footage for all the tours, including Japan. The Japan stuff has been released on my Tokyo Tapes Revisited DVD. You know, and that was quite a chunk, but most of it is still unreleased, and there's some really cool footage there.
That's like a documentary. That's a documentary
live.
right
it's
there.
It's not live footage.
No, it's all right.
It's all on tour, and usually
That's the best
Klaus
stuff.
and Rudolf are the main protagonists, you know, because Klaus was always such a game player. He would hop on the statues and, you know, and do all sorts of things.
What percentage of footage is unseen, would you say?
At least 70%.
Oh man, you should give me a
I've
call.
got
Maybe we could
a
put this
lot.
together.
I've got a lot. Yeah.
That is phenomenal. to
And
know.
it's really cool. I mean, it's the only footage that exists from the 70s, literally, you know.
That is a treasure.
Apart from the odd snippet here and there.
Look, the shows are always the same songs. It's more or
Yeah,
less the same
yeah,
thing. But the behind-the-scenes stuff is the real.
It
fun
was
stuff.
really cool.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much it. That's a deep dive of Tokyo Tapes. One last question for you, Lilac. Are you going to play tonight?
Unfortunately not. And
My favorite song from.
thank you. It's actually one of my favorites. We've never ever played it live, and I think that's wrong, because it should have been played live. I don't really know why we never got down to it. It was on the list, and then we never actually even rehearsed it, you know. And Akasha, what's up? Yeah. It's one of these songs which are different, and I don't expect it to be very easy to play it live. It's probably, one needs to find the right way. But one day that should be on my bucket list, actually. It's one of my better efforts.
Our next interview will be the next album, which will be Earthquake.
All right.
We'll do a deep dive on that one.
That would be more interesting for me, because I had more input into that album, of course, you know. Tokyo Tapes, I did the playing, but then there were virtually no overdubs afterwards. We just left everything as it was. They weren't necessary, you know, except for the audience clapping was fake.
Oh, I don't know. Wait a
No,
second.
you know why? Because it was forgotten to record the audience. And
So you guys just went on the tour bus and
that on top of the fact that the Japanese audience is always super quiet anyways. That's the way. If a Western audience watches a show from Japan, they always think, oh, they don't like the band, you know, because the response is very subdued. But that doesn't mean they don't like it. It's just a completely different culture, you know. But I think in the studio, I don't know whose idea it wasn't mine, but there was this massive album, Frampton Comes Alive.
Yes,
So
of course.
somebody, they said, okay, let's take some of the clapping there, and they put a loop, so suddenly Sun Plaza Hall became Stadium Rock. There's your dirty little insight, and it's a true story. Nobody will deny it. So, yeah, Frampton Comes Alive on Tokyo Tapes.
Well, there you have it.
The audience of Frampton, you know. And we had a great audience when we played in Japan. The halls were sold out, and we played Sun Plaza 3 times. But if you don't have microphones in the audience, then it sounds like totally quiet, you know.
Jam session.
And yeah, so that was one of the recording mistakes.
Well, there you have it. The deep dive on Tokyo Tapes with Uli Jon
All
Roth.
the dirt here, you know. And that's pretty much as much dirt as I can give you on that, because there wasn't anything else.